story. Listen to this. Take about a minute for me to get this one across to you. You might know it, I doubt it. Right? But the payoff to this story will make you despair. It's an animal story. It's about a chimpanzee. He's a big chimp as well. I've got a photograph. I thought it was a gorilla. Big fella. 31 years old. They've given him the name Santino. And he lives at the Furuvik Zoo in Sweden. And he likes to chuck stones at the public. Wouldn't you? Wouldn't you? Have you stood at the chimp enclosure in a bloody zoo and watched what people do? They laugh at you and go, hoo, 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 hoo. Look at him. In 100 years' time, there won't be any zoos at all. And people will be amazed that we allowed it to go on. Anyway. So even Swedes, obviously, turn up at the zoo to take the piss out of the gorilla. Chimpanzee. So what Santino does is he chucks stones at them. Good for him. Good for Santino. But the zoo keepers noticed that he always seemed to have a ready supply of stones, and they couldn't work out how he got them. So one of the zookeepers, when they locked up for the night, he snuck back and he watched Santino. Santoro's a tennis player. Probably not as clever as this chimpanzee. What the chimpanzee did was during the night, he would go down into the moat, which was designed to keep him in, and he would collect an arsenal of stones, and he would bring them up to the very place where he could get closest to the public and chuck stones at their head, and he would store them. He would make a stack of stones. And then when they started taking the piss, he could lob a stone at their head. And you would, wouldn't you? And I would, wouldn't we? Right. Now, so, this information gets out, and the scientists, bless them, descend on Santino with a hunger. Because the anthropologists are pointing out that this is quasi-human behaviour in that he is planning ahead. The scientists say that it is only the human who knows how to plan ahead, and that what Santino is displaying is an ability to work out something that's going to happen in the future and take contingency for it in the present. In other words, although he gets really cross with the people, and that's when he lobs the stones, when he's calm and calculated the night before, he thinks to himself, right, tomorrow they're going to be back. I'm going to need some stones. So I will go down to the moat, and I will select the right ones. Apparently he couldn't always find the right size stones in the moat, so sometimes he would get onto a little bit of concrete in his enclosure, and he'd get a bigger rock, and he'd bash bits off the concrete, and then he would shape the bits so that they were the right size for lobbing at the heads of these Swedish zoo-goers. So you got yourself something fascinating here, haven't you? You've got this gorilla who stands up for himself. You've got this gorilla who's been in prison, presumably for 30 years for a crime he did not commit, and he's standing up for himself. But more than that, you've got a chimpanzee. Forgive me, I keep calling him a gorilla. You've got a chimpanzee who can plan and think ahead. This is practically the missing link, isn't it? So, here's the punchline. Thank you for your patience. When I tell you this, you'll want to spit. The zookeepers decided that there was only one way to control his behaviour. Not talk to him about his needs. Not tell the public to treat him with respect. Not, best of all, take him back to the jungle and let him have his freedom. Good listener. They cut his balls off. They castrated him. Did you see one fly over the cuckoo's nest? Yeah, I know. Well, this comes back to what I was talking about at 10 o'clock an hour ago. This is what's going on with all of us. This is what's happening to all of us. Our zookeepers are cutting our bloody balls off. We have this urge in us to be free. We have this urge in us to express ourselves, to become as close to what we want to be, to who we think we really are, as we possibly can. And the mountains of red tape and the castle walls of bureaucracy that surround us, and the dead weight of government on our shoulders, is no different from the pen that they kept that poor bloody chimpanzee in for 30 years before, when he really, really tried to be what he really needed to be, they cut his balls off. This is Global News Talk. I'm Tommy Boyd.